Welcome back to Tech, Tesla, and Trends. Tonight, I've been thinking about Semi. From a 2017 to 2022 5-year development plan, a little longer than what was anticipated with a 2-year ramp, but there's also a little thing called COVID that somewhere wandered through there and caused some delays across the entire world. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Looking at the overall goal of Semi, though, it seems that it was intended to replace semis across the world. And the wheelbase at roughly 13 feet does indicate that it could compete within that European marketplace, as opposed to, a modern or one of the larger 20 plus wheelbase on a Mack truck just is not going to be effective in those smaller roads and other turn radiuses that are required in Europe. So the Semi does appear to meet that requirement there as far as its goal. And I believe it also has, as they were designing it and making decisions about where it would go, that they were looking at meeting a minimum of about 80% of the trucking market, which by the estimates that are out there, if the Semi can hit 500 miles, actually probably about 400 miles, it'll hit pretty close to 80% of the addressable short haul, medium haul trucking. It's only about 20% of the trucking that is that long haul, going across country, and that particular type of trucking is not as prevalent as many people might believe. Looking at their other goals is probably the overall CO2 cutting, and that definitely, depending on the mix of power as that improves over time, and we'll discuss how the grid grows greener and changes, and how Tesla's plan for solar powered charging stations along the routes will definitely green up that particular CO2 number that they're after. It's a goal. It's important that we're good stewards of what we have, but in this case, it's less of a massive important thing in my book. The more important aspects of what Semi accomplishes come in its format of what it does. Being able to actually pull off somewhere close to actually anything over 300 miles at full capacity is going to be a game changer, because all other current semis that are out there are not hitting that number. They're somewhere below 300, and that includes the tray, and it's I'll believe a lot of that one as it further rolls. Anyways, the Tesla, the numbers, it adds up. It's one of those things that there's been a lot of people and a lot of scrutiny that's gone into whether or not Tesla can deliver on the promises from 2017. I think the only real question of what that should be questioned on there is whether or not 7 cents a kilowatt hour is still a viable option. Potentially it could be, with the solar and battery location being the origin of the power. So potentially that 7 cents a kilowatt is still on the table. I don't know if Tesla is going to continue to offer that, as the way that they began bringing people into the Tesla ecosystem years ago was free supercharging for life. Well, that offer is definitely no more. And it's one of those things that as you look at where Tesla starts to where they gradually grow to, that 7 cents a kilowatt is definitely a sweet deal if it can be done. It essentially means that 1,000,000 miles is going to cost a lot less than, probably pretty close to about $150,000, just off the top of my head, spitballing here. I know that at 9 cents a kilowatt, it's roughly about 190,000 to operate for 1,000,000 miles, as opposed to nearly $1 million to operate a diesel rig at roughly $5, anyways, somewhere in the 5 to 5.5 range. It's going to cost you about $1 million to operate, and I don't see diesel price decreasing dramatically over the next long period of time, given the current administration and their goals. So the cost of diesel is definitely not competitive compared to a Tesla. It's almost a factor of 10, depending on where you're buying diesel at. So this is a big deal. This is game-changing territory. And as people look at the overall functionality of Semi, when it comes to fleet operations, this is going to be a no-brainer. In fact, I think any company that operates a fleet that does not transition to a Tesla Semi, once it is reaching that 50,000 trucks a year capacity, I think that company will cease to function very quickly and rapidly due to financial mismanagement. This is a no-brainer, the way that Semi will operate from a fleet perspective. Looking at the overall time constraints and everything that's gone on, that 5-year development ramp and change and everything else, it's definitely the optimistic Elon time to have promised to deliver in 2019. It's 2022, and essentially, December, that makes it essentially 2023. So it's not the optimal time frame, but then again, when you're changing the world, sometimes things happen. It's part of life. And that gets back to what we've kind of discussed with time as a factor there. Never giving up and just continuously iterating and committing to rapid action and testing your solutions and moving forward. And that's exactly what the Tesla team has done here. Looking at how they've kind of reasoned out, with the 0.36 drag coefficient there, that's pretty impressive. And I think at full capacity, if you were to fully load a Tesla Semi and drive it at 70 miles an hour, you're probably looking at right around a 250 mile range. It just seems, I know that Tesla's got that 500 mile range statement, but that, mathematically, that is a truth. In a perfect world, we seldom operate in that perfect world. Out on the plains, delivering potato chips for Lay's and Pepsi, that they're going to hit that 500 mile range, because the overall max capacity load of the Semi will never be challenged by potato chips, which are mostly air. There's a bit of commentary there that we're paying for air. What's that say about us as a society? Sometimes I wonder. If it's salty and crunchy, we'll take it. That overall, the partnership there and choosing Lay's as a first delivery customer, it's a good match. Uh, they're they're going to be able to be effective, and that'll allow Tesla to build out their charging infrastructure along the routes that Lay's is running. This is a good match. And looking further down the whole process here, um, you know, the reasoning and logic that I believe was involved in this, and I think it was Franz that was involved in the design there, but they were trying to figure out how to make EU and US trucking more compatible with each other. And I really believe that the Tesla Semi hammers that particular one truck to rule them all scenario. And we'll see how that plays out, but I believe the one truck to rule them all is a good plan. Again, single category killers is a big deal. And a lot of people say, oh, yeah, you need 16 different cars to compete in the same market segment. That is as stupid a business plan as I have ever encountered. Have one vehicle, do it right, and execute, and you will win. And that is exactly what Tesla has proven time and time again. One single category killer per category. And Cybertruck, when that finally comes out, Ford, your long reign will come to an end as the number one truck in America. Cybertruck is coming for you. But that's another video and another time, and I'm so looking forward to that one. As far as overall resources, the ability to get Cybertruck, or not Cyber, it's on my brain, I tell you. I know it is for a lot of others. But for Semi, the ability to bring in FSD and tie it into maybe a lead truck, that is a huge deal. And it will definitely decrease the overall cost of operations. You can take one driver to 3 trucks or whatever they do. However it ends up being legally acceptable, and move on. And this is really a big deal. Trucking is changing in the world that we're observing. And this is a space that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it is really, there's a lot of changes occurring that are impacting how goods and services goods are delivered to us across the fruited plains, as some might say, or sing. And when looking at overall the materials perspective, they've figured out a way to do this. Originally, everybody assumed it would be 4680 cells that were going to be used for the batteries, and that is not the case. They're running, I think they're running the 2170s, and that is just that's impressive. That they're utilizing an existing technology, existing densities. So when the structural battery pack and 4680s gets rolled into Semi, that's going to be an upgrade in many ways. Now, granted, energy density mostly identical, not though over time as some of that chemistry is improved, and I really believe that at some point the graphene aluminum batteries are going to be part of this conversation, especially where semis are concerned. Just the rapid charge capability of that particular chemistry just makes a lot of sense in a semi, and we'll watch how that comes out. It's easily 5 years away before that's even a reasonable development conversation, but that's one to watch in that particular one. Looking at how the manufacturing, though, is improving, going from the one-off builds that they've been doing to now we get testimony from the court case with the crazy investor trying to sue Elon for his his rewarded shares for a job well done. Anyways, one of the board members testified that potentially up to 100 semis were going to be delivered this year. If that's the case, that's going to be impressive, and that bodes well for the overall ramp. Looking at where Tesla's talking about, I mean, Elon said 50K next year. I think it's overly optimistic, and that's not uncommon. An optimism bias is definitely there, and I don't particularly fault Elon for that, because quite frankly, he thinks about how things would be done if he were doing them. So that optimism bias is justified. How does he factor for not having as many Elons as are necessary? That would be a scary thing in some ways. But he's thinking about and running the numbers based on what he could accomplish. So optimism, yeah, we're just not quite as effective at working the hours that he does. But robots never sleep. So perhaps in time that particular advantage of Alien Dreadnought will come to fruition, and I look forward to that for one. That's going to drop to the bottom line of Tesla as a company in a major way. And as a shareholder, I am absolutely pleased with what I see going on in that particular developmental direction. Looking at the overall knowledge base, though, utilizing Franz's knowledge and skills in design, I think, was a brilliant stroke there. It does overcome that dual truck dilemma, and that's a wonderful thing. It's appreciated from a perspective of simplifying, and the best truck is no truck. In this case, one truck to handle both Europe and the US. From a leadership perspective, again, Elon's done his best. And I think that there's been a lot of challenges with Semi that haven't been revealed. I look forward to hearing some of those tales, hopefully in the fourth quarter earnings report. That would be, or maybe even some of the tales there at the December 1st rollout. That would be awesome too, to explain, hey, this is why it took us an additional 3 years. So looking at the financial commitment there, those that got in early are getting a screaming deal on their Semi. I think afterwards we're going to see the cost of Semi go up. And as the numbers are proven out by PepsiCo and whoever else gets these rumored 100 semis, I think that we are going to see the price go up dramatically, because quite frankly, they're not going to be able to keep up with the demand, and the numbers are going to speak for themselves. So be prepared to see the price of Semi go up significantly as the days go forward, and until they are able to get to that 50,000 Semi run rate. I really hope they can pull that off this year. Or next year. That would really, I'd be utterly impressed. Anyways, there's a lot of benefits for the Semi. From a cost perspective and everything else, this particular category killer is amazing for the world. It is, bar none, the best truck based on the numbers that it has currently. We shall see whether those numbers pan out the way that everybody's anticipating, but everything we've seen so far, I anticipate that the trucks will easily hit that 400-mile marker, and that's going to be significant in that particular marketplace, in that environment. So I'd love to hear what questions you have and any other things you think I missed, or would love to hear more from you on that. So drop a question in the comment section, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night.